This tutorial will go over how to use iDMS iImport. This is used if you have an Excel spreadsheet that you would like to insert or update data in your iMIS environment with. Before being able to use your Excel in iDMS, you'll need to make sure that the Excel file is cleaned up properly. For example, the first row will automatically be set as your column headers. So you need to make sure that the first row has some column headers that you will be using for mapping. In iDMS, you do not need to map every column header, so you do not need to worry about deleting extra columns that you will not be using in the import or update. You will need to make sure that every row in your Excel contains data that you want to be in your iMIS environment. For example, in this Excel spreadsheet, if I go to sheet 1, on row 6, you can see that there's a row saying following our new members, kind of splitting the top and bottom section of the file. Before being able to use this sheet in iDMS iImport, you will need to delete this row 6. Once your file is cleaned up, then you'll just have to click here to upload, and then select the Excel spreadsheet you want to use, and then select the sheet that you would like to use. And as you can see, the first row of your Excel are automatically set as your column headers. Next, you'll need to select an action based upon what you are wanting to accomplish with iImport. If you want to insert new contacts, then you'll use this insert. Or if you want to insert an activity or new data onto a record that already exists in iMIS, you can use this insert, but in your Excel spreadsheet, you need to have the iMIS ID. If you do not have the iMIS ID and you would like to insert data into iMIS onto a particular record, you can use this insert with matching, where you will match on some fields, and if a match is found, then it will insert data onto that record. Next is the update. So if you want to update data in iMIS, you're going to match on some fields, which I will show you in the mapping screen. And if a match is found, it will update that record or that row of data. If no match is found, or if multiple matches are found, then it will skip over that row of data and keep proceeding. The insert and update is a very powerful action, where it is similar to update, where you're going to match on some fields, and if a match is found, it will update that record or that row of data. But if no match is found, it will insert a new row of data. So this is useful if you have an Excel spreadsheet and you're not sure if the records exist in iMIS or if they do not. Lastly is this delete action. We just ask that before you choose this action, that you reach out to CSI to make sure you are deleting the data correctly. We have had some clients cause issues in their iMIS environment by deleting data improperly. As you can see, or as you will about to see, the product is very, very powerful. And so you have to make sure that your mappings and settings are correct. In my example, I want to insert these donations. And as you can see, there's no iMIS ID on this spreadsheet. So what I'm going to do is select the insert with matching. Next, I'll just have to map each of the fields that I would like to map. This top section is the field in iMIS that you want to map to. And this section down here is the column from your Excel spreadsheet. For this section in iMIS, as you can see, there are all these different sources that you have. In our case, we are going to be using contact details. And what I want to do is just map the first name to the first name field in the Excel spreadsheet, and then hit save. Next, I want to map the last name. So if I actually click up here above add mapping where it says columns available unmapped, if you click on that column header, it will automatically populate it down here. So now I just need to select the field in iMIS that I want to map to. So I want to select the last name. Save. And I can go through mapping each and every field, but this is an Excel spreadsheet that I get monthly from our fundraising team. So I actually have mapping saved. So if the column headers are the same, I can click load mappings, and then I can, under fundraising, I have a donation import. If I select this one, as you can see, it has automatically mapped the remaining columns. These are column headers that I do not need to be mapping to, and you can leave them as is. This key icon, this is a match on field. So it will look for an email, first name, and last name. And if it finds a record that has all three that match exactly what you have in your Excel, it will insert these GIFs onto the record as well as update some demographic information. Next, I will go over these options. So this checkbox is very important because if more than one record is found, it will skip the update or the insert. And that is important because if multiple records are found and this is not checked, it will try to insert GIFs onto multiple different records and thus causing some data corruption within your environment. Skip validations. So we do some quick validations. For example, we ensure that the payment method that you have in your Excel does exist in your iMIS environment. The same if you are setting a member type on a record. It first makes sure that that member type exists in iMIS before proceeding. Skip blank match on. So if this is checked, and for example, the email field is blank, let's say on this first row, if it's blank, it will try to find a blank email in the iMIS environment with this first name and this last name. In this case, there's a good chance that there's only one record. But if there's a name like John Smith and a blank email, then it will find multiple records and thus not be able to find the correct record. So you can skip a blank match on, and it will skip that row of data. Continue on error just as it sounds. If the error is out, it'll keep chugging along. Ignore blank values. So with this checked, if, for example, the spouse field in your Excel is blank, but for this individual in iMIS, that spouse field is showing as Sue. If I have this blank and this is not checked, what will happen is it will overwrite the data in iMIS with a blank and thus erasing the spouse. If you do want to blank out a field in iMIS, you can check this checkbox here, and then in this field here, you can put a unique character such as a question mark, or you can use a keyword such as erase. And so that tells the product, if you see the word erase, the field that's mapped in iMIS, we would like to blank that out. And then lastly is notify. If there's an error, it will send you an email. So next we can hit submit. And this is one last validation screen where it gives you your file, how many rows, your action, the options you have set, the mappings, and then lastly this summary. This summary is important to check out because we will throw some red warnings if we suspect your mappings are going to cause any issues. For example, if you're inserting a new contact into iMIS and you do not have the last name field mapped, iMIS will not allow you to create that record. So in the summary here, we would be throwing a big red warning saying, no last name mapped. Please go back to your mappings. But this looks good, so I'll hit continue. As you can see, it gives you some information. And then it goes row by row. So it tells you reading row 1. It tells you the iMIS ID it found, that it updated the business object, and then it will tell you that it created the gift, the distribution it went in, and the amount. And then it goes to the next row. As you can see, this is done processing, and it lets you know that this is the end. If you want to look in the dashboard, you can click Dashboard and then Import History, and you can see the latest import that you did. If you click the status, you will see the same log screen that we were just on. And if you click on this eye icon, it will give you import details such as the file, the mappings, and the options. As always, if you have any questions or you come across an error message that you're not quite sure what it means, you can always email support@csiinc.com. When you reach out to us about an error that you've had with iImport, we just ask that you pass along the Excel spreadsheet that you used, as well as a screenshot of the mappings, which, as I showed, can be found clicking on the eye icon and then scrolling down to mappings. That will just allow us to attempt to replicate the issue and give you next steps to resolve. If there are any failed records, you can download in Excel that shows you the row of data that failed, and it will also give you the error message as to why it failed. So that is it for iImport. Thank you for watching.